Ladies and gentlemen, howdy and aloha. Welcome to another episode of Airey Bros Radio. We are here, you are there, and we greatly appreciate you joining us tonight. And we are stepping back on the mat to go belly to belly with Saint John Vianney head wrestling coach Chris Notte, a New Jersey legend with one of the most decorated junior college to NCAA journeys in recent memory. But before we get rolling, y'all know the drill. Make sure you smash that like button and you are subscribed to Airey Bros on YouTube. Drop us a comment. Every review, share helps us grow and give back to the sport we love. Follow us on Instagram, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. As always, this episode is fueled by Black Sheep Endurance, your go-to for ultramarathon coaching as well as elite nutrition coaching. Let's not forget why we do this over here at Airey Bros. We are here to shine a light on the programs, coaches, and mentors we wish we had access to growing up. If you or someone you know is looking for a right fit at the next level, please share this with them. Now on to tonight's guest, Coach Chris Notte. He is a junior college national champion. He was a two-time All-American at Nassau Community College. He's a Big 12 finalist and a two-time NCAA Division I qualifier at Oklahoma State. He is the current head coach at Saint John Vianney with five straight 10-plus seasons and multiple state champions. He has coached Dean Peterson and Anthony Knox. Without further ado, Coach, it is an honor and pleasure to have you joining us this evening. We do greatly appreciate your time. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. Thank you guys so much for having me. And Jimmy, thank you.
Yeah, it is an honor and a pleasure. We look forward to getting into your journey, not only as an athlete, but as a coach. But before we get into any of that, anywhere you would like us to send the guests, the fans, any of your own socials, any of St. John Vianney's socials, if you have any camps or clinics or anything you got going on this summer, the floor is yours.
Okay, yeah. So you can send some of those to SJV Wrestling, and then as you type that in, you'll see it. You can click that. SJV CAC, and you can send it to myself. You have mine. And that's cool for now. It'll definitely be blasted beyond this meeting tonight here.
Okay, cool.
For sure.
We'll put all that stuff in the show notes for you as well. Coach, one of the things we like to do, especially with our Jersey guests, to get things rolling, the most important question we're going to ask you this evening, is it pork roll or Taylor ham?
Pork roll. Pork roll for sure. Taylor ham is the manufacturer. What a great Jersey question and a long-going argument. Come on, guys.
Well, pork roll is definitely amongst our Jersey guests and some of our Pennsylvania guests as well. Pork roll is definitely the leader. You know, it's those North Jersey Ivy League coaches that they tend to, they're the Taylor ham crowd, but most everyone else we have is pork roll.
Okay. All right. Jim, what do you got? What do you got on that one? I want to hear what you have to say.
Pork roll all day, bro.
All day.
We're Point Pleasant boys. You already know, Chris.
Yeah, South Jersey all day. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, we're Central. We'll take Central Jersey. I know it doesn't exist.
Some people will say if there's a North and a South, and so okay. Yeah. If you're from Central, you can say Central. That's how that goes.
All right.
We can claim both, because we when I was coming up in high school, I graduated in 94. We were a South Jersey Group 2 school. So I've been to Delran. I've been to Kingsway. I've been to Bridgeton. I've been all over South Jersey for track meets and wrestling matches. So we can kind of claim both.
Yeah, I like that. Yes, you can. Here from Jersey, we can do that.
Yeah, that's right.
So, Chris, one thing we like to do here on Airey Bros Radio, we like to give a through line, how we know our guests, how they came across our plate. And one thing we do here on Airey Bros Radio, besides highlighting the short conference, because that's obviously where Rich and I grew up, we do a lot of junior college, a lot of NAIA, a lot of Division II, a lot of Division III. And how I came to know you, how we met, was junior college wrestling. You were at Nassau Community College. I was at Middlesex County College. Okay. I had the pleasure of watching you win a national title for Nassau in 2008.
Yeah, man.
I saw you tear it up on the junior college scene, and then got to, see you go to Oklahoma State. So that's how you came across our play. And then obviously, we follow short conference wrestling still. We don't live in New Jersey. Rich is in South Carolina. I'm in Florida, but we've been following, and all of a sudden, some of the Catholic schools that weren't the top of the top when we were growing up are now some of the top schools. And one day I was like, Rich, Chris Notte is the head coach of Saint John Vianney. So it's been awesome
Yeah.
to watch you at Saint John Vianney and what you've done with that program so far.
Yeah, thank you guys, man. And what a journey it's been. You said you saw me at the junior college level, and getting me there was quite a humbling experience in itself. I did very well in the high school scene. I was a four-time region finalist, three-time region champ, three-time NJ state place winner, four-time qualifier. In my opinion, as a coach, nowadays, I know the demographic is slowly changing over the years. However, growing up, into this day, it's still one of the hardest tournaments in the country at Boardwalk Hall. You see guys who believe in themselves, knock off guys who even are backed by the Trentonian and all these media sites for guys who are supposed to win it. And you see upsets, and because guys believe in themselves, you see guys repeat, which is also hard to do in itself. And these guys are ranked nationally, and they're multiple time state place winners. Some upsets occur when a guy, it's his first time there. So there's a lot of that spectrum type of upset and repeated champion type victories in New Jersey, and it's fun to see. It was always fun to compete in, and I think that's what got me ready for the collegiate level, was that Boardwalk Hall and that atmosphere. I definitely throw a lot of credit to New Jersey in itself for developing its wrestlers, both north, south, and for you guys central. But I was very well coached, man. Very, very well coached. I didn't always have the practice partners. I mean, who does until you get to a room like Oklahoma State? There's guys, you look everywhere. There's practice partners and guys with unbelievable accolades behind them. So, what an unbelievable journey. And especially being from New Jersey, your name, if you make it to the collegiate level, your name has a stamp on it, and responsibility, comes with all of that. So it's a pleasure. And also, it's tough to fill these shoes every day. You got kids talking crap in the room too, and still gotta push and pull with these guys each and every single day, and grow a collective group of young men with a lot of different levels of confidence, cockiness, professionalism, humility, and all. You have to find a way to collectively bring all those together and find a role for each guy to come together. And I find pride in that, and I find a good way of vocation, a good way to give back. And that's why I'm here today. And I feel as though if I wasn't doing that for this sport, we wouldn't be sitting down with one another discussing this. So what an awesome journey and story. I have a story too. I mean, we all do. All of us wrestlers have a story, but it originates with a drive, some sort of drive, some sort of hunger to compete. And it dwells in all of us. And unless if you keep feeding that and feeding that, you won't really have it or won't really understand it. But it's like a skill set. You're born with it. You're born with a certain set of DNA, and you must develop it and develop and develop. And that's what I found in competing, not just wrestling, competing in life too.
Well, Chris, we want to get into building the program, managing all those personalities and stuff, but you said you had a story. So where did that story start? How'd you get into the sport of wrestling?
Wow, man, I kind of snuck in to the sport of wrestling, if you will, because you know, um, I was about 10 years old, and you know, some people just don't agree with the ruggedness of wrestling when they're first exposed to it. Um, my mom, so I had family members who wrestled. My cousin Dom was a little older than me. Shout out to Big Dom. But my cousin Dom, His father pulled him into it. Obviously, he was a wrestler in high school, blah, blah, blah. I'm originally from Willingboro. And so, you either wrestled and played football or, you did other things. So my family kind of went on that path of wrestling and football. And I saw my cousins always bringing home all this hardware, man, all this, all these trophies. You go to tournaments and you come home with a trophy again in New Jersey, which is not hard, not easy to do. You're carving a path for yourself, and you're seeing hard work transform into something you can hold. And so I saw that at a young age, and I was also like really, really like into the Rocky movies, like really into the Rocky movies. And so like I would like try to like run outside when it was like really cold out, and like shorts and stuff like that. My mom told me to get inside the house. But then like a couple of years later, I started out as a swimmer. Long story short, I started out as a swimmer because my mom's a swimmer. She was very good. She swam for Willingboro High School. She was like all county and stuff like that. So I started out as swimming and karate, and it just really wasn't working out for me, man. Me and my sister were kind of goofballs. We would kind of like laugh, in karate class. It had to be very quiet, but like I was into the drills and stuff like that. But like at that age, I'd rather grab somebody and throw them down and like double leg them or tackle them or run a touchdown or throw a headlock or stuff like that. It was a little too organized for me, but I know it's great discipline and stuff like that. But so my uncle Mike, rest his soul, man. My uncle Mike, he started bringing me to Willingboro's practices, wrestling practices. My mom had no clue, and I'm going, uh, from 6 to 8 every single night, and she started picking up on it, and he'd pick me up after school, and then we'd hang out, and then he'd take me to wrestling practice, and my mom would be like, yo, like every night he's home at the same time at this time, like. So we broke it to her, but she was like, all right, cool. Plus, I left a trophy on the table and she asked me about it one day. I can't really remember to this day, but maybe I subliminally left it on the table to like show her what I was really doing. And I felt good about myself, man. Wrestling like allowed me to find an identity in myself, and it allowed me to see the fruits of my labor and the hard work I was putting in. Like I was starting to get like muscles and stuff, and I was able to run faster, jump further, overpower my opponents. People who were overpowering me in the beginning, I was starting to get the better of them, and I saw that, and that like fed an absolute beast inside of me. And it was also humbling too, because I put myself through hell, man. I would like try to hold my breath as long as I could underwater after swimming like a really long lap. Like something about this kid is weird, man. He's like kind of putting himself through hardships, and like he doesn't have to, man, and but I knew something special about me. So, I saw my mom working multiple jobs at once, and I knew I had to produce in some way, form, or fashion. Watching her come home late nights, she would have to work like waitressing tables, bartending. She was also in claims, uh, insurance claims and stuff like that. So she had like a daytime job, and then she would like go over and have another job on the weekends too, and always worked the concession stands and was always involved. And so that that was big for me, seeing that type of work ethic. And I was very like kind of aware. And I saw, her doing that for her two kids, and I'm like, well, I'm just a kid, so I can't really do what she's doing, but like I can do something for myself. I can do something that she sees that I can make my mom proud of. I see her doing stuff. Like there's lights on in our house, running water, and we go on vacations, and I know my mom busts her butt. So it's like, what am I doing for myself to produce and show her? So I really got into wrestling and football, and my uncle Michael was very instrumental in all that. And I had great uncles who also walked me through that process. And with their kids there, I had a very close, biologically, it was a cousin of mine, a first cousin. My mom and my Aunt Mary are sisters. My cousin Derek, we were brothers, man. Rest his soul. He passed away too when we were 23. We're the same age, four or 3.5 weeks apart, man. He was an Eastern national champ. He was a Mawa champion, district champion, all those tournament champions here and there. But I was just watching him. This was when I was in swimming. And so I finally was able to get into some tournaments, and my mom was there. And then this was huge for me. So she's now supporting me. And then from there, 5 years later, I was a state champ. So I just took it and ran with it. I was running I was running like 3.5 miles. I think, when I learned anatomy, physiology, and exercise physiology and biology and stuff at Oklahoma State, I kind of learned that I kind of learned a little bit about myself, but I learned about the phase training and peak performances. And you want to find your optimal peak performance at the end of your phase training after tapering off, yada, yada, yada. I feel as though I overtrained maybe a little bit, but that's just something I live with to this day, and I have no regrets because maybe I'm getting more heartbeats out of my life because of it. I don't know. So, but I was addicted to the training. I immersed myself in the culture. I was very well trained ever since I was a kid. So Eastern High School had a state champion. Clinton Hicks. His father was actually my first coach at Willingboro Rec. And so I wrestled there for 2 years, went on to Palmyra, and I finally got into club wrestling. So now I'm with Dave Miller at Wrecking Crew in Mount Holly, South Jersey.
Shout out Dave Miller, former guest at Airey Bros Radio.
Shout out to Dave Miller, man. So both Dave Miller Sr. and Jr. Dave Miller Sr., man, what an inspiration he was. He was state champ for Shawnee. Watching his son grow up too through Lenape, like just looking up to these guys and wrestling for the Wrecking Crew and having that gray and black on you, man. It was really like having that badge of honor on you because our practices were not easy at all. And garage style, open up the garage. If it's summertime, open up the garage, close it, get that heat, air conditioning on. Same thing, vice versa. If it's wintertime, get the heat on, and that heat was bumping too. And I was with Coach Mr. Berger at Palmyra, and talk about, breaking a guy down and then building him up, man. I thought I went in there. I was the best thing since sliced bread. There was also other good wrestlers there, Ricky Bailey, Palmyra's finest. You had both Nick Moritz. You had some good wrestlers. I also want to mention you had a kid who I had a lot of trouble with in this wrestling room. You had Jonathan Grimes. A lot of people don't know that name in the wrestling world because he cut it off for football. He was Arian Foster's backup running back. Jonathan Grimes, look it up. He's also a pianist, phenomenal musician, phenomenal singer. Shout out to Jonathan Grimes, man. We were teammates on the football field. When I tell you, like, wrestling and football go together, man, that is I was trying to make the NFL. I wanted to go to the NFL. I wanted to use wrestling to get to the NFL, the hard work, the hardships, the identity, the one-on-one, being able to beat your guy. If that's a blitzing linebacker coming off the edge, that's my responsibility. I'm going to one-on-one him, and I'm going to beat him. If he's bigger than me, I got it in me. I got the dog in me. That's what wrestling taught me. Ray Lewis, but anyway, Jonathan Grimes was a guy who I had, battles with in that wrestling room. He's also a year younger than me. This guy was a freak, but also obviously he was a successful running back in the NFL. Arian Foster was the guy who was also a singer with him. But anyway, then we went on the Holy Cross, Jimmy Malarkey, unbelievable person to have in my life at that time. my mom was a single mom. And like I said, I would see her working her butt off, working her tail off. And, that fed onto me, man. That fed me the hunger to drive, the discipline. Discipline is also a special gift in itself, man. To push against yourself for a better tomorrow, a better next week, or a goal I'm trying to get. That's putting your own self aside in that current moment so I can have something bigger and better. That I learned that at a very young age. I would even, as a kid, I would eat my red Sour Patch Kids all the way at the end because I knew how to delay gratification. I had the best bag of Sour Patch Kids ever because I had the best last taste in my mouth. So, and then Jimmy Malarkey, man, he was like Mike Berger, Jimmy Malarkey, these guys were like father figures I had in my life. At the time, I most needed them. I was becoming a young man in my life and trying to find the way, trying to navigate my way through hardships and, girlfriends and stuff like that. And, which, I think I did a pretty good job at staying focused and staying away from them. But, those are real life things that come into young men's lives each and every day. And more so now. Because you have social media, you have all your temptations at the tip of a finger. And so there is a calling for more discipline, much more now. And, that's what I tell my guys. I feed my guys all of these lessons that I've learned. I share with them mistakes that I've made, and I don't want them to make them, silly things, silly things that they can just become sharper in a shorter amount of time. And, there's like some of the a father figure for some of the kids who haven't had those people in their lives, or a coach who influenced them in a very positive way. Teach you how to take losses. Teach you how to take tough ones on the chin, man. You can't just run away and cry and punch things. Like, you got to sit down and like muscle that down, man. You just got to muscle it for, psychologically, physiologically go through it to pick up the pieces, get back to the drawing board and produce better the next time, or whatever it is that you're trying to do, whether it's, life, wrestling. Wrestling is to struggle just like life is. And it's all about being better each and every day. And these father figures I had in my life at that time, now I'm at the age, freshman, sophomore year. And, Holy Cross is riding high with football. And I'm one of our star running backs, slot receiver, punt returner, kick returner. I was very big in football, man. I was trying to see how far I could take that. There was, Danny Woodhead, there was Julian Edelman, a guy I work with, calls me Julian Edelman. I didn't run a 4.4 though, so I'll say that to everyone. So I did not run the 4.4 that I needed to get me there with my short stature. But I was up in the morning, man. I was running stadiums with a 30-pound vest on. In the off season, I was training. I don't know if you guys remember the East Bay magazines. To all my people who remember the East Bay magazines. So remember the one page in the East Bay magazine where it had training equipment, like you had vest, the upper vest, the parachute, remember the strength shoes that had a platform on the front balls of the feet. So I knew I needed to run faster and jump higher. I also wanted to dunk a basketball because I grew up watching Allen Iverson, and that was my guy.
Practice.
I could answer. Yeah, we're talking about practice, man. We're talking about practice. So I was the short dude on the court too at recess, man, trying to be Allen Iverson. So I did increase my 40. I did increase my vertical leap. This is not free advertisement for strength for that company, but because I know my broad jump got further, I got faster. So I was doing that stuff, cross training. I still kept swimming, and I was running probably 3.5 miles. This is all mixed up. This is not every day, but I knew what I was doing with my body, and I knew I wanted to be something great. wrestling wasn't all that big though. Wrestling, like I couldn't tell you who our guy was at, at this one when I was a kid, but now maybe it was Lincoln McElravy, So at the time, no, but now wrestling is getting bigger through social media, Flow Wrestling and blah track and all the outlets you have. But I did it. I did it for me, man. I did it for the love and all the intrinsic motivation that came with it, man. When I went to school on Mondays after winning a state championship, nobody would have never known unless if I think that was my mom to this day calling into the school to tell the administration that I won it so they could say it on the loudspeaker. But to this day, no one knows. And you didn't know back in the day, so I just did it, and I wasn't always the brightest because in the classroom because I didn't really strive to be the best in the classroom because that was just kind of like to me in the time, I'm 15, 16 now in high school. That's why I always stress to the kids, man, academics first. It'll make your exterior part of your life much better. Like, so your job as a young person is to go to school and to be a good kid to your parents, man. Those are your two jobs, man. Just like, because if you're failing out of school, your parents are going to be upset, yelling at you, blah, blah, blah. There's going to be, confusion at the home, and if you're not doing well at home, not being the good kid you should be being, then there's going to be a mix up at school. Your guidance counselors will see it's things where people catch on. So you do those two things, everything else in your life will become easier. So that's what I tell my kids, man. And, you won't find yourself at a junior college when you're being recruited by a lot of Division I talent. If you keep on in the classroom. So I had a humbling experience. I was being recruited by a lot of Division I schools, and I didn't do too well. Period, on standardized testing. All the reading I could read a story on Muhammad Ali, Jerry Rice, and I'll recite word for word the whole thing what I read. But if I'm reading, a very standardized story, I'll have trouble in the ABCD column and they're all close on the SATs. So I didn't do too well GPA, SAT wise to make it come together to get me in the NCAA clearinghouse. Went JUCO. I wanted to redshirt. So all this is a very humbling experience to me. And it all moved fast too. You know how they say high school goes fast? I'm like, wow, man, I competed, I played football, and like it's all over now. Now I have to go to a JUCO. My grades weren't well enough. I also didn't have the best guidance counselors. That's a different story.
Join the club. We didn't either.
That's why this podcast exists, Chris.
Absolutely. All the guidance counselors out there, man. If you have athletes, get them enrolled and get them an NCAA clearinghouse ID number, man. All these guidance counselors didn't really know that. They were just used to your traditional student, not student athlete.
Chris, so sorry to.
No, you're good, man.
Yeah, Rich, I know you got a question, but you said the junior college, and Rich and I are real big on junior college. Rich and I both junior college All-American, Rich on the cross-country course, me on the wrestle mat. And if it wasn't for junior college, I don't think I would have had that experience to be able to go to a four-year school because I was in the same boat as you, that there was no way I was passing clearinghouse, and I didn't have a guidance counselor that was kind of guiding me through the process. Senior year comes, and now it's like, well, this is your only option if you want to wrestle in college. But you made the most of it. You got third, and then you wanted. And I know you said you wanted the red shirt, but looking back on it, do you think junior college was good for you? And do you suggest kids, hey, just because you can't go to Division I, this will be an opportunity to get to that Division I school?
So here's the thing about how I feel about the junior college. I have no regrets, man. Again, I go to another junior college, another institution. I find myself at being well coached. Volgar Odajov, Coach Paul Schmidt, Chris Edmond, all those guys. So I have no regrets. Look at the things, look at how things are today now. You can go JUCO and still have your years of eligibility at the D1 level now. Man, shoulda, coulda, woulda, but I'll tell you what, man, I knew what I wanted to do with my life. So if someone was out there and said, Chris, you start out at our institution, D1, this D1 school, maybe I don't know what kind of program they have, but maybe academic probation, we'll call it. You start out here. I knew I wanted to wrestle, and I know I was dead serious about life at that point in my life, as you always should be. And I was going at a young age. This is at a young age. A lot of people don't know what they want to major in. They're like, do I really want to wrestle, man? That's it's a very big, oh yeah, I wanted to wrestle. So I would have went to class every day. I had great attendance. I knew what I wanted to do. I was working out on my own too. I was going to my college workouts, and I was also in the weight room, and I was running on our turf field whenever, we didn't have any other sport occupying the field, the turf. I was running sprints on it. Obviously, I changed up my training. I would run sprint circuits and full mile laps, and still staying with the bleachers. I felt as though, if a guy's trying to take me down, you got to sprawl and, stop him from taking you down. So it's also like breaking a tackle. So, it translated my style of training, and my style of wrestling. They complemented one another very much so, especially with playing football. And junior college, for me at that time in my life, it was good for me because I was also maturing, and I wasn't around football stadiums full of people not living the lifestyle, man. Football stadiums, full of girls, being around all that. Maybe God had a different path for me to place me in a secluded little community, a nice little community in Uniondale and Belmore. My second year, I was living in a normal, residential community. I wasn't around kids my age. I was in a community. I was commuting to school, and I was a normal 19, 20-year-old kid. I would go out with my friends, but it wasn't like a campus like that. It was a community college campus. If you didn't go to Hofstra, you didn't really do anything on your campus unless if it was academic. But what a great move it was for me. I did my homework. I found out I wasn't getting into the NCAA clearinghouse. I was in Coach Turnbull's office in West Virginia when I found that out. And I said, right then and there, I had a humbling moment. I gathered my thoughts, and I said, in my head, I have to find a new home somewhere else that, I don't even know where I'm going. If it was, Michigan, I know where I'm going. I know the town. If it was, West Virginia, Penn State, I know where I'm going. So I didn't know where I was going at that moment. I was upset in my feelings. But I said to Coach Turnbull, what is the best junior college in the country that I can go to? Because I knew I was on that level. You don't beat certain people who I've beaten, in the state of New Jersey, who are from the state of New Jersey, and do what I have done in the state of New Jersey, and, not want to be amongst the best in the country. So he said, okay, so you got two options. You have one where they'll give you a scholarship, or one where you'll just pay, community college, just like a student. So I said, what are they? Iowa Central and Nassau Community College, he said. Where? Iowa Central, Iowa. Where's Nassau? I know it ain't the Bahamas. So I said, where's Nassau? And he was like, Garden City, Long Island, Nassau County. I was like, okay, like, where's that? Close to the 5 boroughs or blah, blah. Like, yeah, like kind of just like right outside it, off the Verrazano Bridge or whatever. I'm like, okay, all right. Let me go out there and check it out. I went out there and checked it out, man. It was like the next week. And I met Paul Schmidt, man. I was sitting in his office. I shout out to Paul Schmidt. I love that man so much. Man, he stood up. What a big dude he was. He used to be a firefighter, and he shook my hand. He encapsulated my whole hand. My hand just disappeared. And, he said, yeah, want to wrestle here? And I was like, yeah, yeah. It was just like almost like I was passing in the hallway. He probably gets so many of these guys, and he does. I've learned that he does from so many places. They'll move out from Chicago and nothing will transpire out of these guys. They'll get mixed up in the wrong crowds, and then they'll just, move away. Maybe they might stay in Long Island, but move somewhere. I don't know. But, guys come and go. So it was kind of a bland first meeting, but then he saw I enrolled. He saw I drove up, and I was asking him, to find a house to put me in. And that's when he knew I was starting, a new chapter with him. And we started getting closer. He helped me with anything I needed. If there was I needed a change in my schedule, anything I needed, he was always there. The training was always there with Volgar. Shout out to Volgar Autojov, man. Vito Rugel's dad. He was there for me all the time. You got to want to be champion. You got to want to be champion. And, that was like a Rocky voice. Like he should have been in the movie Rocky somewhere. Like with
like Mickey talking to you.
Yeah, it was like Mickey talking to me through Volgar or something, man. So, I'm blessed to at every stage and at every path and every turn and corner to have bumped into these man, the wrestling royalty, man. And, if they're not, if they don't have the best accolades, man, they were like, role model royalty, so I'm so thankful for that, man. And I carry that on my sleeve each and every day. And I tell my guys, just be thankful for who you pass and bump into. They could be someone who changes your life. And, but I also had Coach Chris Edmond, man. He was the national champ for Tennessee at I think he was like 158 or maybe once the weights were a little different back in the day. But this was right before Tennessee had closed their program. And, he came back to coach at Nassau. He's a Nassau County guy. He went to Freeport High School in Long Island. Shout out to Freeport, Long Island, Andre Harrison. Remember Andre Harrison? You went to Middlesex, right? Remember?
Yeah. No, I don't.
141. He was a guy above me.
All right. All right.
Partners.
You guys had a really good team.
We did.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. Were you on the team with Al?
Al Paskalik?
Al Iaquina? Was he there with you? No.
It doesn't ring a bell. No. Al Paskalik, though, he went on to fight in the UFC. You got who was our 65 pounder? Chris. Why am I drawing Chris? Anyway, we had great wrestlers to go through there, man. A lot of great wrestlers went through Nassau.
Did you Chris, it sounds like you've had a lot of positive male role models in your life. When along this journey did you always know you wanted to get into coaching?
Yeah, at this point in my life, I'm what am I, like 20 years old? Not yet, not really yet. I was kind of like on the fence of I got to really dig my way up through these ranks and keep my name alive, keep my name on ice, so to speak, until I get back to the D1s, man. It was almost like I exiled for a little bit. That's how I looked at it in my head. And so once, I looked at it as once I got back from my exile, I was going to, shake up the wrestling scene, and maybe fight because, that was starting to get really big. Around that time, I think around that time, Dana White was really putting the UFC in a chokehold and really revamping that brand. So I think I was really attracted to that. On the other side, so was American Ninja Warrior. I knew I wanted to do something with my body, so I had to keep competing, keep training at a high level. And so, I did really well. I did really well at JUCO level. Every single tournament we went to, every open tournament we went to, I placed in. I was beating some good guys who were also at the D1 level. Man, remember the name Nick Bridge from
Yep.
Absalom?
Yep.
So he was at Cornell, and I won a New York State title with Nassau. We went to the New York State championships at University of Buffalo. And just like my JUCOs, man, I took a third. I lost to Willie Simpson, who was an All-American for American, or I'm sorry, not American, West Point Army, and I think he All-Americaned that next year. But anyway, or it may have been he had a brother or something. I don't know, but they had a good team. Army had a good team. I took a third, and then I won it my sophomore year. But those state championships were not easy, man. You had Cornell in there. You had NYU. You had all the SUNYs. So that wasn't easy at Buffalo Army. So I won that too. And then I had great guys in my corner, man. I had great guys pushing me in practice. And we had a good team, like you said, we had a good team. And so winning's contagious, and having good guys around you, good guys who support you and have the same goals as you. I remember in the beginning of each year at Nassau, we had a few guys just literally quit in the first week. It was just like a very acute quitting. Like you see him the next day in the hallways, like, yo, that wasn't for you, was it, man? Nah, college different, man. And our room was a Division I college room. It really was like we had some studs in there. And the coaching staff was unbelievable. It went together well. You had Volgar running the practices with Coach Edmond, and, Coach Schmidt was, he was the business guy of it all. He was behind the scenes guy. And then, they groomed me well to be in a room full of state champs and national champs at Oklahoma State, so.
Was there any kind of learning curve once you got to Oklahoma State, or were you ready to rock?
I was ready to rock, man. I was ready to rock. I was ready to compete, and I was physically on the same, if not more, higher level than some of these guys around me. And yeah, I'm talking, guys who were also national champs, state champs. I was a physical specimen who put my body through a whole lot, and learning curve, yes, big time, because I didn't do Fargo. That was football season. I didn't do off season freestyle. It was lifting and getting ready for football. And in the spring, in the springtime, man, I just became just like a runner and a lifter. Once I got my license, man, I lived at the gym. I even played basketball a lot. Like I cross trained. I loved cross training. I loved, being involved in other sports other than wrestling, because it also drove me in wrestling. I feel like it drove a hunger. I was hungry to wrestle once wrestling came around. So that worked for me. Other guys don't like to do that. Other guys like to immerse themselves in Greco and freestyle, and good for them. It allows them to collect data, in our sport. I just, my intuition and my aspirations were just with a variety of different sports that I could push myself in, and it was more opportunity for me to find myself. I was always against the odds, even starting out with wrestling. My mom didn't want me to wrestle. We would go to, like I said, she would see other dads yelling at sons and making them do push-ups if they lost. And my mom was like, do you see that? That's why you're not wrestling. And I was like, damn, man. I'm like, damn, how am I going to get out of this? And so that's, kind of when at the time, like, I was doing my own thing, without her knowing a little bit. And eventually we came clean, a couple months later, we came clean. You can't hide things from the parents. So came clean, and thank God, man, it all came together. And she ended up like it ended up being awesome, because she appreciated what I was doing. and she supported me. And so, I find myself in that Oklahoma State wrestling room, and, guess what, man? There's no off days in there. There is absolutely no off days, and there's 1,001 reasons to have one off day every 2 weeks. Everybody can have an off day every 2 weeks and still be the guy in that room. No, you go to that room every single day, and whatever you're going through it, mental, you get through it. And if it's physical, and the athletic trainer cleared you, you're on the mat. And so you're at the mercy of their decision sometimes, even if you were hurt, which, again, I never really had any issues really. My second year, I did sprain my AC joint. But other than that, my whole wrestling career, I never really had I never had any broken bones, soft tissue injuries, and especially with a long, rugged sport like wrestling, you can get a lot of soft tissue injuries. Thank God I really didn't have much. Like I said, man, I swam too. I think me swimming helped my body out a lot, resist injury. Lifting weights helped me, avoid injury. But, so being in that room also pushed my attitude, hearing Coach Smith talk every day, wrestling with Coach Eric Guerrero every day. I was in, the pre-quarterfinals against Dan Dennis, and I lost 4-3, and I took him down. It was a close match, and, losing that match to him, if I lost on a flea in the mat point. I don't know if you know that, but it came down to that because we were right under the Iowa section, and I moved him, hit a post high crotch, and I'm driving him. I'm like, oh, snap, this is it. I'm about to win this match. But he slipped off my shoulder. He knew how to slip off my shoulder, hit that funk roll, just dive down to my ankle, and we scrambled, went out of bounds. We were right under the Iowa section too, and they went ballistic when we went out of bounds, and they caught a flea in the mat point on me right there. And I was, everything I worked for in that moment, I feel like came down to which I allowed, came down to a subjective decision, by the referee, who was influenced by a large crowd. In that hostile moment, he acted on that call. And I was on the shorter end of the stick. But, if I don't put that in the ref's hands, I finish that takedown, man. We're probably not sitting here today because I take a seed. I take a seed and I go on. I'll probably win that tournament, man. I know myself. I lost to him earlier in the year, 2-1 in Stillwater, 3-2. I'm sorry, 3-2. I didn't get a takedown on that guy. I took him down in the NCAAs, but I didn't take him down when I needed it most the second time, because of that flea in the mat point. We would have went into overtime, and I think I would have got him. But I was under the bell, and I was at mercy to the time when I was down by that point. But you live and you learn. And then losing to I had tough losses. I lost to Anthony Robles, man. Bless that guy, man. Bless that guy. I lost to him at Reno. I had the match won. It was tied up, but I had the riding time. And like a minute and 4 or 5 seconds riding time. We were neutral. I was up by a point. Got 2 escapes. Or 1 escape. No, it was 1-1. I know I had a point on him. I think it was just a riding time point, but he took me down with about 5 seconds left, and that ticked down my ride time too. So I lost to him there, and I felt so bad, man. That was so humbling too. He's a great wrestler, man. Like, nothing on him, but like, my mom flew out to watch me from New Jersey. We're in Reno, Nevada, man. And I lost that nail biter, and I had it in the bag, and I just, man, I felt so bad, man. I freaking went in the stands, and like, I didn't talk to anybody. I was like crying, man, put my shirt over my face. But, I bounced back and took third, beat a guy who All-American for that third, from Wyoming. So it all worked out because I'm now producing. I'm producing things that I did not create on my own as a competitor. So it's good to see the transfer. Um, you know, it's good to see a transfer and a leaf turn like that. I do see the forest from the tree sometimes, and that comes with intuition and collecting data and wisdom. When you bring all that together, you can help people. So I guess that's what I'm good at, man. I'm still, building and learning and trying to recreate myself each and every day myself. I'm always the first one in the wrestling room to say, my bad, I was wrong. I always make sure my kids hear those words. Very, very seldom do I want them to hear those words, but I do say, if my bad, I was wrong. I make sure they see that. If you're not going to be the best in the classroom, be a good observational learner. Learn from other people's mistakes and watch as people, as they live and as they train and as they compete in life. Learn from other people's mistakes. I was able to do that. I was able to see things really well with my friends and other family members. Like, don't do this and don't do that. You'll be in good shape. Look both ways before you cross the street.
Gotcha.
Chris, how you think having those losses, obviously those losses had a big impact on you as a competitor. Do you think those losses helped you become a better coach, and without those losses, you might not be coaching at Saint John Vianney?
Better coach and better person. Better coach and better person. Shout out to Tony Caravella, one of Brick Memorial's the best, and one of the best to ever do it in the state of New Jersey in all sports. He's the one who is basically responsible for putting my foot in that door. You got to get it from there, but he put my foot in the hat. And, had it not been for, those losses and, experience and the way our Lord works in mysterious ways, no, that doesn't happen. I was in the area. I was back here. I was helping out with a club team called the Mat Warriors. I was in there with Ray Clark, running a lot of good kids in there, helping out a lot of kids in there, man. State champs, man. And he gave my name to Tony because Saint John Vianney's coach at the time was Denny DeAndrea, rest his soul. He just passed away this year, man. He was the head coach, but the guy dealing with the parents, helping kids lose the weight, this and that, being the diplomat of the team too was Tony. And so Tony reached out to me because he heard of me through Ray Clark. That is when we developed a relationship, and I knew who he was, but we were developing a relationship at this point. And then, we met, he set me up with an interview. I was speaking with the athletic director for, we were talking before that one school year ended. It may have been May and June. And so I was speaking with them for like 2 months. And then I had the interview that August. So the athletic director was calling me pretty frequently too, man. He wanted to make sure this guy, Tony, knew his stuff. And after every phone call, I'm sure he got off the phone and was like, well, yeah, Tony knows what he's talking about. But yeah, so, paths will come because of certain things like that. If I won a certain couple matches at the right times, who knows, probably never would have turned back from there. And again, we're not sitting here. And again, I didn't touch certain lives and help certain people. That's how it works. That's always how it works. And that's why you cannot really live with regret in your heart, because if you feel something happened that it really, 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 really wasn't supposed to happen, okay, maybe you're right. But what are you going to do from now? So now you're in a different part. So, and you have to pick up the pieces, or you have to do something positive from there. Work positively, work through it, overcome, adapt, acclimate, right?
Every day.
That's who I worship, man, who I worship. If he can carry a cross and get whipped and things like that, I can like wake up early and do this and do that and clean my house and work out hard, and that's called freedom. Within. Freedom lies within. Salvation lies within. So if you find ways to live like that, it can really be simple and beautiful. So, getting the word out there, getting my word out there, man, it's definitely a special one. If it wasn't for such the heartbreaks I had in wrestling, man, I wouldn't have been able to get through some things in life. The get up, you're sweating, your legs feel like jello, and you find a way to get up. Wow, man, I'm up, now I'm back hand fighting, now I'm in on a leg, now I'm finishing. You find ways to surprise yourself. A song that I always listened to before football games was One Moment in Time by Whitney Houston. It's about like how, in that one moment of time that you worked all your life for, now the time is coming, like you can be better than what you even think you are, like in that one moment in time. So I would listen to Whitney Houston before like some wrestling matches and football games, because her words carried so deeply within me, and they were real. They were about competing too. Like that One Moment in Time song was America's theme song in the 92 Olympics, 96, one of them. Sorry for my 4-year uncertainty, but it's one of them. But yeah, man, I surrounded myself always with good music and good people, and I always tried to live a good life, and my mom set good examples for me. I know where I should be, uh, you know, every day of the week, and have good attendance and be available. So I had great people. I had a great village. It takes a village, to build a champion, to build a person. And I had that village, man. Uh, I had that village for sure.
Chris, what's over the past 6 years as a head coach, what's been the biggest takeaway, the biggest thing you've learned at the reins at SJV?
You know, every year is you're going to be a rookie as a coach. You're going to be a rookie every year. And by rookie, I mean, that specific year has a new DNA, has a new fingerprint. Just like we as people, we all have different fingerprints. And each and every year, you might have some new guys, and you may have a lot of the majority of the guys returning. But each and every year is different, and you have to be willing to adapt to what it is that comes your way within that season. Man, I've went through COVID with this team. I've went through uh you know dry spells when it came to that. Parents aren't always easy. If you're just dealing with kids, it'd be easy, man. You're just, it'd be easy. Kids are cool, kids are fun, they want to learn and they want to be there. Sometimes parents disagree with philosophy. Sometimes parents disagree with, how much you run or something. Like, that's just an example, not with me, but like sometimes parents make it tricky. And I've learned to always give it to God, man. Anything that I've faced with this team, you know, sometimes I felt uncertain, and that's okay to be uncertain. Just know your next move. And my next move was to always trust in the Lord and give it to God. And he's going to, I didn't have the answer right then and there, but when the moment came, I always did. And I always did well. So, you know, being with these guys and, being in the grace, in the presence of Christ every day too, that also I feel helps me. I feel not just them, but, they help me too. So I've learned a lot from the kids. And that's just to bring it each and every day, man, because I have hard shoes to fill. And even sometimes if I don't feel like bringing it, I got to bring it, and I just dig deep. And so this sport and this, being, you know, the leader of my culture, I got to bring it each day. And I'm always ready and willing to give that. I wake up each day feeling motivated, and I have that reason. We always want to be a part of something, sense of belongingship. It's within us. We want to be part of something bigger. That's why people join fraternities. If they're not on a sports team, sadly, that's why some people join gangs in some certain parts of the country and inner cities. And when there's nowhere, when there's nowhere to go and there's nowhere to run, even at your own house, when, your own safe haven, the place where you lay your head at night should be safe. Sometimes it's not for some people, and they end up joining gangs. So you have gangs, fraternities, sports teams, blah blah blah, work associates get together. Somebody everywhere wants to be part of something. So make sure everyone feels a role. Make sure everyone feels like they want to come back. And make sure that they felt that they gave something. Like if they didn't show up, they'd be like, oh man, like I was supposed to be the guy that, said this or said that, or did the cartwheel at this moment, or I was supposed to be the guy that bring the apples to the picnic. Like make sure they have a role, and always have kids coming back, man. Always have kids, being hungry to learn more. And that's what we need, man.
Speaking of coming back, how's the team looking for 2025, 2026?
Oh man, we're looking good, man. We even had a guy out there who didn't compete for us this year. He was just figuring some things out with football too. So we got guys coming back. We got depth. We got state qualifiers returning. We're gonna be good. We're gonna be good this year, no problem. But the thing is, when you have a graduating class like we just graduated, man, that was a historical class, man. There's people in the Midwest, looking at results of B City East, like who are these guys? We almost had three guys in the finals. We're this close to having three guys in the finals at the B City East. That's like $45,000 a year school type stuff. The Malvern Preps, the Blairs, the Del Bartons. That's not like 15G less school type stuff. So and keeping those guys together. There was a lot of different types of guys. Keeping those guys together, that takes work. It takes chivalry. It takes the Lord above to help with some of the things that we had to go through. But we did it, and we're coming back strong, man. We got guys who are hungry right now. We got guys who know the attention is going to really be on them. We got guys competing. They're training right now. If it, up to me, man, we'd be freaking, running here, there, everywhere during the summer, but you got to give them their space, says the rules, but you guys know how it goes. But we're going to be good to go, man. Keep an eye out for us for sure.
Chris, I know you said it takes the Lord above to get through some things, and if someone wants to know what I'm talking about, they can go read a newspaper. We know you had, at the end of the season, Anthony Knox went for his fourth state title, and there were some people out there trying to stop him, and every week we didn't know if Anthony was going to be able to wrestle or not. How did you, as a coach, make sure that he was ready to go? Not worry, everything's going to be taken care of, but you got to be ready to go on the mat and to keep him focused, because when we watched him wrestle, it didn't faze him. He didn't skip a beat. He might have even got better. It looked like watching from my vantage point, where he's teching kids off of snap downs. Like who does that in the States, where you're teching kids off of snap downs? He didn't miss a beat. What did you do as a coach to make sure he didn't miss a beat?
Well, I was talking to him throughout the whole process and everything like that. He's got a great fatherly supporter. He's got a great mother too. They made sure he was always, staying off, staying off this and staying off that, staying locked in, just staying, what got you here and where we are in the season. We got, 1 to 2 weeks. We got 2 weeks left. Just stay laser focused with your wrestling. We'll handle everything else. And, Anthony Knox is a warrior, man. You give him a reason to be pissed off. You're only gonna help him. The things that were being said about him, all the scrutiny and things like that. I think it fueled a guy like that. That's a guy, if he's already a burning fire, man, you want to throw some gasoline on it. That was the result of it. He put his hands on kids, and he was putting them in places that he wanted them to be when he wanted them to be. So it just sharpened his iron, if you ask me. And the kid was already sharp as it gets. He just locked in. That's just what competitors do. When there's really nowhere else to turn, there's not much he can do. It's at he can't really go out with a bunch of his friends. He can't really, de-escalate a situation like that you don't really have full control of. So what can I do? I can wrestle, I can train, I can hit the gym. And he was staying the path. He was staying the path, and you saw the result of it. That's a guy who just, closed his door at night, and when he opened it, he went out and he competed.
So you coach Dean Peterson and you coach Anthony Knox. What do you think that was that certain thing that you can kind of connect that they did better than everyone else, or kind of something similar that they both had?
Well, they both respect winning and expect nothing else. They're kind of like, losing to them is very foreign. They're just that type of pedigree. They're winners. So what really separates those guys, though, is their athletic ability, their ability to get them out of danger, their ability to smell blood and capitalize off it. They were extremely athletic. Knox is definitely stronger, but you want to talk about raw athleticism. You bring these kids, you take away all of their wrestling knowledge, right? You have their body, you give them the Men in Black thingy, and you tell them you don't know how to wrestle. You know how you just have a specimen of an athlete. I'm gonna today we're gonna go over short level offense, and then we'll get on the mat tomorrow and stuff. Okay. That person, that 21-year-old person, or 22, or Knox, 18, 19, that person will know short offense by the end of the day.
Chris, you mentioned that a lot of seniors leaving this year, and if we have any parents of 8th graders or 7th graders listening to this podcast, well, what's your pitch to give SJV a try and come wrestle for you?
Hey man, I'm hands-on over here. I'm going to teach your kids how to really wrestle, how to build their bodies, how to build their mind. And if you want your kid to be the best person he can be, you send him over here to SJV, and I'll get him right. I've been through the grind. I've been through the rugged. Not everyone has the inspiration and the ability to connect with a wide range of kids like the way I do. So, there's a lot of competitive schools around the area of SJV, and they got great coaching staffs, and they got great people on there. But I'll tell you what, man, we have a great staff over here with me. And, we're only getting better, and I develop kids. I'm on the mat with kids. I'm showing them how to really do things, and I'm showing them how to wrestle, not just, hit home runs, but, and I'm heavy on these kids on the academic end of things, and I know college coaches, so I keep bridges alive, and, and I'm out there. I still get on the mat when I can and compete myself. So, if you want your kid to have an outstanding career academically, wrestling wise, even football and other sports, I was a multiple sport athlete. I encourage that, and I encourage the full potential and anything that comes with it. I'm always there to develop it, and I'm always there to help foster that. So bring your kids on by, man. I promise you'll get the gold standard here.
Chris, I appreciate you sharing your multi-sport stories with us because Jimmy and I are multi-sport. I ran cross country and track
Okay.
and ended up running in college, but um, I was kind of at the tail end. I graduated in 94, where you saw kids that played three sport athletes. I think at like 94, 95, 96 is where people started to kind of specialize a lot more, and that kind of went away.
Yeah.
Starting to see it come back a little bit more. So we're always trying to support it. So I do appreciate you sharing that and sharing your love for football and your love for Allen Iverson. He's my guy as well,
Yeah,
too.
man.
I'm curious, are you in the school all day, too?
Yeah, I'm a health and phys ed teacher
Right
at
on.
Saint John
Same
Vianney
here.
too, and I teach strength conditioning also.
Awesome. Awesome.
I think they're going to have me start teaching driver's ed soon too, so we'll see.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a phys ed, health and phys ed teacher down here in South
Awesome.
Carolina too. So
Awesome.
doing my best to teach them how to lift weights and be strong and
Yeah,
sound mind, sound body is what I always tell them.
that's right. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It became a lifestyle for me. It's like
Yeah.
I'm living the life of like how I lived from like December to March from, when in my competing days. So, it's a good lifestyle to live, getting good sleep, eating good, training the body.
Yeah.
It's not bad, man.
No, it's good. It's good
Yeah,
life.
man.
Chris, thank you for bringing that up because Rich and I, we always felt like outliers because that's why we loved wrestling, right? We love being in shape. We love being able to
Yeah.
go off the drop of a hat, being healthy, right? I always
Yeah.
say there's two ways a wrestler can go. There's a wrestler who, like us, just love to be fit, love to be physical, and then there's guys that they like the pork roll and the Taylor ham.
Yes, yes. Yeah, always, man. There's always those two guys, and we all have those kinds of friends too, man.
Chris, I really appreciate you getting into your story with us tonight. We could talk to you all night. One last thing I have for you, if Rich doesn't have anything before we get into the Final Four, you spent some time with John Smith. He's one of the better coaches in America. Do you have any John Smith stories for us
You want
that
a
you want to
funny?
share?
You want?
Yeah,
Yeah,
funny.
yeah, yeah. All right, so, all right, so, what the wait one? All right, all right, so, I I'm walking up to our workout facility at Gallagher Iba Arena one afternoon, and it was hot out. So I want to say it was maybe I want to say it was like late August, early September, because I know we had practice soon. I like to get to the facility about 30, 45 minutes before practice. But like, I had like I think I was wearing like I think I was wearing a baby blue Philly shirt with the maroon P, the old school P, right? And I had a maroon Phillies hat cap backwards, and I had my studs in my ear. Jersey guy, fresh out of Long Island too. And I'm and and I'm walking up the
Stillwater.
steps. And I'm walking up the steps to get to, you walk up these steps, then to the room, you have a lounge on the left. You could watch TV or whatever in there. And then just slightly ahead to the right is our locker room door. You could just push it and walk in. We're passing where basically the door on the left to go into the lounge is. And so you could tell he's either going to go in the lounge or he's going downstairs to the athletic training facility. So he goes I go, "Hey, coach." And he looks at me and he goes, "Hey, come here." And so I'm like, "Here." And like he's like looking at me. He like looks both sides too. He's like, "What are those?" And I'm like, I touched my earlobes. I was wearing earrings. They were little studs. And I was like, "Oh, my studs, coach." And he goes, "Yeah." And I was like, and then he leaned over and he whispered, he kind of like said softly, he said, uh, I'll kind of like edit it kind of like, but he goes, "Are you a fairy?" And I was just like, "No, sir. No, 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 sir, not at all. Not at all, sir." And then he just like kind of looked at me like, and then just turned and walked away. That was the last day I wore the studs. I don't wear studs anymore, man. That was the last day I wore the studs.
All it takes is one time.
Hey, man, that was my coach. And, he was just basically letting me know that, he didn't rock like that. That wasn't his culture. He didn't rock like that. And that's okay. And you know what? I'm a cowboy up. And I didn't wear those studs ever again after that day. Some people call me a punk, some people, but that was my coach. I respected my coach and I did well even without wearing the studs. So that was a change I can make, without even putting my ego into it. So,
I'd argue that kids need a little bit of that nowadays. That's what I would say.
Yeah, coaching, man, you got to really watch for your steps. So that's why coaches nowadays got to be even much better. They got to be better. They just got to be better. You got to be even more experienced. You have to know your words better. You have to be able to have a better filter. You can't be like cursing around these kids. And sometimes, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but like you gotta watch what you say too. You gotta watch what you say subtly. That can really hurt a kid's feelings too. Because at the end of the day, we're trying to build these kids up. You don't want to bring down their confidence by any means. Even if the kid has two left feet, and he can't dance, you keep plugging away. Fake it till you make it. Keep that kid on the track, man.
Amen.
Final four, Rich.
Let's do it.
All right, Chris, are you a coffee drinker?
I am.
How do you brew your coffee and how do you take it?
Just regular in the pot, and I could do black or just with half and half.
All right.
All right.
I'm pretty simple, man. Not too much to please me.
That's good. Chris, do you have any daily practices or rituals you do on a regular basis to show up as the strongest version of Chris Notte?
Oh, no, not really, man. I go to church when I can. I read scripture every day, and I make sure I maintain um, a talking relationship with God. That's really it. I'm nothing crazy, crazy special, man. I work out. I train. I still do my power cleans and hang cleans when I can. I'd probably say 3 to 4 times a week. So I'm pushing my body and I'm making sure I'm sitting down for at least 10 minutes a day. I just, say my daytime prayers and I talk to God. I read scripture, not always at that point of the day, but I'll sit down at some point and I'll read scripture. That all comes together as like 15, 20 minutes. It's just like sitting down time. But other than that, man, you know, mind, body, soul, spirit, I just, take time for all those every
Chris, do you
day.
have a favorite book in the Bible?
Do I have a favorite book in the Bible?
Yeah, or a favorite passage, like something you go to when you need that motivation?
I mean, uh, everyone loves the 413. Everyone loves the Philippines. I mean, uh, how is that? I don't know if that's cliche or if that's just common ground, but that's a big one to me. I every once in a while I think about getting a tattooed on me. I have a few tattoos, so that's kind of like the one I think of. I can do all things, through Christ who strengthens me. That's big for me. I mean, days you don't want to wake up, you ask the Lord for, finding a way. I mean, that's where it's very derivative right there. It's, very easily to make reference to that every day.
Rich, we've been hearing that a lot on Airey Bros
Sure
lately.
have.
Yes.
Shout out to Coach Jim Grunwald.
Yeah. Chris, what are you listening to right now? Music, podcasts, audiobooks? Are you reading anything?
What am I reading? I got back from a flight last week. I can't find my book, but it was on mental toughness. But now I flipped it back. I'm reading on emotional wellness. Uh, it's by one of the best. It's a best reader. Give me 1 second. I'll grab it. Okay, emotional intelligence rather. So This right here. Just being able to, being able to manage your emotions and being empathetic to others and understanding environments and stuff like that. I think that's big in coaching, stepping outside of like a Dan Gable book, or a Muhammad Ali book or something like that, reading something like that, I feel like it's cross training to me. Again, that's that cross training, going back to cross training, that's mental cross training, that can help me be a better coach. I can't find my other book, man. I put it in my luggage last week. I came back from Florida. I was down there for a wrestling camp, the well-trained wrestling camp. So I was down there and I had it in my bag. I honestly cannot find it.
Maybe TSA got it.
Yeah. Well, I had it. And then when I unpacked, I can't remember where I put it. I may have put it somewhere, but it's not in my bookshelf.
Okay. Chris, last one to close out. It's a lighthearted one. It can be anything. Maybe it's a delicious delicatessen item. Maybe it's a beverage. Maybe we have some guys that are golfers. Do you have a guilty pleasure?
I guess my guilty pleasure would just be like cheesesteaks and beer.
Okay.
I mean, I could freaking sit on a golf course or at the beach and just, fire away and just relax. I'm a beach bum. So anything that's like laying down on the beach, throwing a football on the beach, having a cooler filled up with beverages, and walking on the boardwalk getting pizza, man, I throw a lot of money down on those games, man. I lost. I was at Jenks the other week. I lost $80 at the. Man, I just got done saying I could ball, but I lost $80 at like this foul shot game, and
oh, that's rigged.
yeah, man, I didn't do too well. So like that's all that stuff wrapped up, man. Just like a Dave and Buster's setting, but like on the boardwalk, man. That's I'll walk back with an empty pocket after that, man. But I'll have a cheesesteak in my hand, though.
Yeah.
I'll have a cheesesteak in my hand. Yeah. Eating it on the beach. So that to me, I made out well,
Yeah.
It's an $80 cheesesteak and a sunset view.
Heck yeah.
Chris, thank you so much for sharing your story with us tonight and to shine some light on Saint John Vianney Wrestling. Thank you for doing what you do, sir. Thank you for repping junior college wrestling, because that's one thing we do over here, and I appreciate you just having a great program and making these kids better men.
Absolutely, man. Jim and Rich, thank you guys for having me on the Airey Bros show. And, thank you guys for giving wrestling a voice, and even guys who haven't, they're not 5-time national champs, but man, this sport thrives on just its culture alone. So, thank you guys for keeping that alive and pulsing, man.
Yeah, we appreciate you, Chris. Love seeing people in the SURE conference doing well and not only representing at the state level, but at the national level. So keep on doing what you're doing, and we look forward to following you next season.
Thank you, guys. Keep your eyes open. It's SJV Wrestling, man. Thank you, guys.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's Chris Notte from Saint John Vianney High School in Homedale, New Jersey. Make sure you go check them out, give them a follow, be on the lookout for all they got going on next season. That is it for us this week. So we hope you have a great rest of your week and enjoy your weekend. We will be back on Monday with Brad Upton. He is a stand-up comedian and also a track and field coach. So we're looking forward to talking with him. And then we're going to be back in the SURE conference on Tuesday night. Back in Monmouth County, back on the mat. We're going belly to belly with CBA's Billy Ashnault. So enjoy your weekend. Until next time.